Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories, where today, Karen demands I babysit for her, even though I won't be able to because we're friends. So about a week ago, I got a call from someone I would consider a friend. We're not super close, but we are friendly, and we get together with the same group of friends a lot. She called and said that her kids were talking about how much fun they have with mine and wanted to know if we would be free this coming Saturday, a week and a half away at the time. My kids really do like hers, and I want to be better friends with her as well, so I said sure. She was relieved and said her husband would be out of town and she needed a babysitter from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. I felt like it was a major bait and switch because I thought she wanted to do something altogether, but I felt bad backing out when I had already told her I was completely free that day. I should have said something right then, but I didn't. Well, yesterday I ran into a friend of mine and she asked if I was excited for Saturday. I thought that was weird because no, I'm not excited to babysit someone else's kids for 14 hours. But I said my kids were definitely excited. She said, "Oh, good. Is your husband taking them to do something fun? Or who's watching them?" To which I made a face and responded that I was watching them. So then she was the one who was confused and said, "So you're not coming?" Well, last week I didn't go to the end of year PTA meeting because I had just started my period and I felt crummy and I didn't want to go. I guess after the fact, some friends went out to lunch. They decided to plan a big girls' day to relax before the kids are back home all day for the summer. Going to the city, shopping, pedicures, eating at nice restaurants, etc. And when it was brought up that I would probably love to go too, this friend said she needed to talk to me about some PTA stuff that I missed, so she would tell me about it when she called me. But instead, she decided to use me as her babysitter. So I called the friend, and I told her I wasn't aware of the girls' day at the time and that I wouldn't be able to watch her kids after all. She asked if my husband could watch her kids too, which was no. She started crying that she really needed this, and what would she do now since her husband won't be home and it's too late to find someone willing to watch 5 kids for 14 hours with no pay. And then once the tears weren't working, she just got angry. She said it was rude to back out of a commitment just so I could selfishly do something fun and how I'm an awful friend. My friends are all feeling super uncomfortable with this whole thing. We're all typically a very happy and drama-free friend group, so I know no one wants to take sides. And now I'm wondering if I should even go at all. So, am I the jerk for backing out of watching her kids after I had committed to it already? Obviously, your friend group isn't as drama-free as you think they are. OP. It's true though. We're not super tight-knit, we don't get together that often, and I know there's times some get together and others don't, and it's not a big deal. But I'm beginning to wonder if maybe it is a little more tight-knit than I realized, and I'm just not a part of it in that way. You should really question those friends who are siding with her. OP, this has been the most hurtful part of it all. So we're not the type of friend group that gets together all the time and live at each other's houses or anything. We get together for birthdays every once in a while or after a meeting like this day. But I've known most of them since I've lived here for over a decade, so I thought we had some substance to our relationships. But no one is acting like it was super absurd. I'm honestly wondering if I even want to go at this point. Before writing the post, I was just angry and annoyed at this one person. But after reading comments and thinking about it, it's just kind of sad that no one really cared. By the way, I'm definitely not saying I'll stay and watch her kids, but maybe just spend the day doing something for myself. Update. I followed the advice from a lot of you to talk to one of the friends I'm closer to in the group, Sarah, to kind of get a feel for what was going on. Sarah said she was kind of frustrated with everyone. After I ran into the friend, her name is Casey, to make it less confusing, Casey had filled everyone in on what had happened. They all agreed that the mean friend, Jenny, shouldn't have lied or tricked me into watching her kids, but they all sympathized with her. I guess it is Jenny's 15th anniversary this weekend, but her husband forgot and had planned a boys' camping trip. So she was sad and angry with her husband, and they all knew she would really need a little getaway to cheer her up. Though it doesn't sound like anyone blamed me for not babysitting, they were disappointed for her and put all of their energy into making a plan for her to still be able to go. No one really seemed to bat an eye whether I was going to go or not, or cared that I was sad, except for Sarah. However, when it came time to make final plans for everything, someone decided to do the math and realized that if I was going to come, we would no longer all fit into the Suburban my friend Kim was going to drive. It's a 2-hour drive to the city, so taking one vehicle was definitely ideal. Sarah volunteered to drive her car and we would just take 2, but it all just felt so forced and uncomfortable that I just ended up backing out. I mentioned in a few of my comments that I've always known I'm not one of the most involved friends in the group, but I've known most of them for almost a decade, so I guess I thought there would be more substance to our friendship than they all did. I don't think any of them have anything against me or dislike me, but I'm realizing I'm just not that important to them. It was pretty disappointing, and it definitely opened my eyes. So all of that happened on Thursday, and I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty heartbroken by all of it. The next day when my husband came home for lunch, he told me to hurry and pack an overnight bag because he had booked a hotel room for me and my sister-in-law to go have our own girls' night. His mom and sister pulled up an hour later so his mom could watch the kids after my husband went back to work, and his sister, who is seriously just the best, and I had the best 24-hour getaway ever. Am I the jerk for purchasing my guy friend his dream birthday present and outshining his girlfriend in the process? My guy friend, Tom, has been one of my best friends since college. We're in our mid-20s now, and both of us are currently in committed relationships with long-term partners. I've never had any feelings for Tom, nor has he ever had feelings for me. Since college, Tom has been a huge watch fanatic. 2 months ago, he was showing me this stunning vintage watch and made an offhanded comment about how he would die of joy if he were to somehow get his hands on one. Very coincidentally, I was in New York City a few weeks ago, and I stumbled upon this watch store that just so happened to have the exact one Tom wanted. It was expensive, I won't lie, at about $2,500, but I decided to get it for his 25th birthday. To me, it was basically fate. My boyfriend and I do very well financially, so this was something that I could personally afford and wanted to buy for Tom, especially knowing how happy it would make him. Tom has a tradition of hosting a dinner party at his place for his birthday and then following up with a cake and gift opening. I told him before the dinner that my gift was a huge surprise and asked if he could save it for last, and he agreed. His girlfriend ends up going first, and she gets him this gorgeous sweater that she crocheted for him and a book that he's been wanting, which I thought was super thoughtful and lovely. Last, it was my gift. When he opened it and saw what it was, he literally screamed, hopped over a bunch of people, and squeezed me in this bear hug. I was so happy to see him happy. It genuinely filled me with so much joy. He even got emotional, and I saw him swipe a few tears. He also said that it was the best gift he had ever received. The whole time, his girlfriend was only slightly smiling and stayed quiet. The next morning, I get a text from his girlfriend that essentially said that although she appreciated my thoughtful gift, she thought it was a bit out of touch and lacking awareness. She admitted that Tom had also told her about the watch and she wanted to get it for him, but it was way out of her budget. She accused me of knowing this. I had no idea, and still getting it to rub it in her face and to outshine her. She finished by saying how she felt like I had overstepped a boundary by getting the gift and would appreciate me not doing anything similar to it again in the future. I responded and told her that while I could see her point of view, I was just trying to do a nice thing for a close friend of mine. I asked her, wouldn't you rather he had gotten the gift and seen the happiness that it brought him than not getting it at all? She responded that that happiness was only shared between me and Tom and no one else, and that she felt hurt by my actions. Only my boyfriend knows about this and he's on my side, but thinking through it all again, I do see how I could have overstepped. But my boyfriend says that it's not my job to apologize for her insecurities. So, am I the jerk here? Not the jerk. You weren't thinking of how to hurt her. You just wanted a nice gift for your friend. Your boyfriend is right. You don't need to apologize for her insecurities. Exactly. I can empathize with how the girlfriend must have felt, but she was out of line to reach out to OP for what was just a kind gesture. It's also what's in the best interest of her boyfriend. She should just be happy for him that he was able to get something he really wanted rather than envious she couldn't provide it. That's real love. I'd say no jerks here. Both point of views are valid. She was right to make the gift, and the girlfriend had valid reasons to be upset. Not being in the position financially to make a similar gift, feeling outshined. OP, next time you find something special and expensive, team up with the girlfriend and make it a shared gift. That's the way to become a bridesmaid, instead of being barred from the wedding. The girlfriend's point of view was valid up until she said that that happiness was only shared between her and Tom and no one else. Up until then, I felt bad for her, as I could easily empathize with her. I've been outshined in gift-giving before. She needs to accept that just because you're someone's significant other, that doesn't mean you will be the only one to provide your partner with happiness in their life. Giving him something that you knew he really wanted was certainly thoughtful, but telling him to save it for last was attention-seeking. I would feel the same way even if he didn't have a girlfriend, but especially because he does. I think you were well-intentioned, but should not have made your gift the star of the show in such an obvious way. He would have loved it just as much if you hadn't showcased it like that and blatantly diminished the gifts everyone else, including his girlfriend, had bought. You're the jerk. It isn't so much her insecurities as your breach of etiquette giving a gift you knew would significantly outshine all the others. This would be like if a male friend bought me a DeLorean for my birthday. I know Reddit boy would feel horrible that he couldn't buy me one himself. Well, actually, I'd just want to go for a ride in it, to be honest. I mean, that'd be really cool to me. Why can't you love me? You want me to speedrun the game so you have someone to talk to? Fine. I, 25, female, have a friend who's also 25 who's been wanting me to play Zelda Breath of the Wild for years now. It's not that I'm not interested in playing. Heck, I bought the game ages ago. I've just been more invested in other things. After 5 or so years, I finally cracked down to play, and I absolutely love it. My friend is equally excited and can't wait for me to get to their favorite parts. No, literally, they can't wait. Almost daily, I'm hounded with DMs asking how I like the game. Did I meet A yet? Have I done B yet? Have I finished C quest? Why is it taking so long for me to finish C quest? I prefer taking things on my own time. With a game of this scale, I want to take my sweet time exploring and finding things as I go. I feel like I'm progressing the plot at a decent pace, 50 hours into a game that other people have spent 300 hours on, and I'm doing fun side quests. Also, I have other hobbies, and I've been playing the game along with the other things going on in my life. I've told them as much, and they're not very happy about it. At first, they were supportive, if not a little pushy, for me to play the game. When I talk about certain plot points and gameplay that I enjoyed, they'd brush off my gushing and say things along the lines of, "Oh, you haven't seen anything yet. You're not ready. Keep going." As I juggled between the game's 2 main missions, they pushed me to do one over the other because it's where the good stuff happens. Despite me saying multiple times that I wanted to go at my own pace and do both missions together, they hounded me with more messages about how I wasn't playing it right. I talked to them about it probably dozens of times, and they explained that they were so pushy because they needed someone else to talk to about the game. No, they wouldn't stop hounding me. I needed to keep going for them, for our friendship. I'd thank them later. Speedrun. So I thought, to heck with it. They want me to speedrun, then I'll speedrun. I used guides and read up things to finish the game as quickly as I could. I honestly have no clue what I did or how I finished, but I did. I eventually sent them a screen cap of my finished game file and gave them my honest opinion. I hated it. There was no build up to anything. I didn't know any character well enough to be invested in their struggles, and the puzzles ranged from stupidly easy to unnecessarily complicated. That part of the game that they couldn't wait for me to find skipped over the dialogue. It wasn't worth the extra time. After all, I needed to finish the game as soon as possible, right? Needless to say, we're not friends anymore. Now that I've returned to my original save file and I'm playing it how I want, I can say that Breath of the Wild is one of the best games I've played. Since I skipped over so much for the sake of being petty, a lot of things still feel new to me. I have no shortage of other friends to talk about the game with, and thankfully, these ones encourage me to take my time. They can't wait for me to get to their favorite parts. But not literally. They'll wait however long it takes me. Am I the jerk for not wanting to share a house in my 30s? My partner, male 35, of 1 year, and I, 34 female, are looking for a flat to rent so we can move in together, or we can stay in the one I'm currently renting. He can move in. Either one's fine with me. I've moved out when I was 18, and with the exception of first year of uni, I haven't lived with flatmates unless you count my ex-boyfriend. My current partner, Adam, has lived with his family till he was 25, then with his girlfriend, then flatmates, then girlfriend, and back to flatmates. We're currently looking for flats, and we're lucky enough that rent is not a problem and we can pick and choose. Now, Adam dropped a bombshell. He wants to live with a flatmate, his friend and his girlfriend. I said absolutely no without even thinking about it. I'm way too used to independence to share a flat with other people. That might have been fine in my 20s, but not at this point in my life. Adam got really upset and asked me to at least think about it. I told him that I'm sorry, but I don't have to, and the answer is no. I'm not willing to sacrifice my lifestyle and comfort to share a house with other people. He said his friends can't afford to rent on their own, and we would be doing them a favor. I stood my ground and said, I'm sorry, but this is non-negotiable. He called me a spoiled brat and a selfish jerk. He knows I grew up poor, so the spoiled brat comment was really mean. He's refused to go to the house viewings that we've had scheduled, and to the most recent one, he brought his friend. I got really annoyed and confronted him once we were alone. He still thinks I'm the jerk for not even trying to share a house, and I told him I'm way too old to try it since I know I won't like it. He's still mad. I understand that sharing is a necessity for some while others enjoy it. I like my peace and quiet, and I worked hard to be able to afford that. But I worry he might be right. Am I the jerk for not wanting to share my house? Not the jerk. You need to press pause on your plans to move in with your boyfriend if he's more concerned about helping his buddy than with you feeling comfortable in your own home. It's a giant red flag that his response to a disagreement with you is to insult you and then completely ignore your side and overrule you by bringing his buddy to the showing. Exactly. The fact he cares more about his friends than your feelings speaks volumes to me. I would be thinking more about the long-term longevity of my relationship just because of that. I would tell him that you need to rethink about moving in with him at all since you have different thoughts on the matter. Not the jerk. I, 38 female, am in a new relationship with 51 male, and his texts are starting to concern me. My current boyfriend and I have been together since February, and we've had a few arguments, but generally things are good. What I can't wrap my head around is some of our text messages that he sends me. They come out of nowhere and they feel a little nuts to me. I don't know if I'm the one being a jerk here, but I don't know what to make of them. I've told him it puts me off, but he doesn't seem to hear me. This is an example of one he sent today after he video called at lunch. I answered, but he hung up and wouldn't answer when I called him back. I left a message saying I guess he didn't have service and couldn't answer, but just call back if it's important. His reply was, "What would be the point in answering after seeing you're dressed up? Hair done. This tells me you've been up for hours, and in that time, I guarantee that your phone has been in your hand a lot, and never once did you have the desire or want to call or text and say hello, good morning, I love you, or even buzz off for that matter. And that makes me feel bad, to be honest. So, I didn't answer." 5 minutes later, I got this. "And because you still have nothing to say, that just tells me I was right." This kind of thing is getting more frequent. I feel like it's kind of excessive, but he says it feels like I don't love him. I don't even know how to respond, honestly. Update. I packed a bag, my laptop, my pew-pew, important paperwork, etc. Most of my stuff is in storage because we were supposed to move at the end of the month. I didn't want to leave him there, but his text got really ugly when I told him it was over. I feel a lot safer at my friend's house out of town. The barrage of texts have gone from nasty to desperate to accusing me of lying and never caring about him to him taking photos of gifts he's supposedly bought me to making horrible threats. Apparently, I'm not giving a hoot about it, but here I sit trying to talk to you and work this thing out because I care more about you than I do the lies. I love you, D. Why can't that be enough for you? I'm so done with this BS. It's probably going to be hard trying to get him out of my life, but I'm saving the texts and I'm going to at least try to get a protective order tomorrow. Thank you all for your comments. They reaffirmed that this behavior is unacceptable. I think I kept adjusting to the new normal every time he would do something that was off, but not quite bad enough to break up over. We had endless talks about his behavior, and he was very good at reassuring me he'd work on it and then being the best boyfriend imaginable. It's like he's two different people, but I'm positive the nice side is an absolute lie now after some of the stuff he said. I'm safe for now and definitely won't be going home without an escort. To answer the questions about why we moved in so quickly, we've been good friends for 5 years and he never once acted like this. I thought I knew him pretty well, so that's why I gave him the benefit of the doubt for so long and let him move in. When he proposed, it was so romantic and he was so convincing, I got a little swept up in the idea that it was real. Karen doesn't like that I removed my rose bushes, so I send her on a goose chase. Karen comes over and knocks on my door and tells me she doesn't like that I removed the rose bushes, and I told Karen I don't care. She asked me to clarify what I said, and I say, I don't give a hoot what you think. Shocked, she goes, You can't speak to me like that? To which I said, Well, I just did. Who do you work for? Quick thinking. Oh, I work for local HVAC company as a sales manager. She goes, Oh, that's nice. 2 days later, Karen comes over and tells me that I've never worked for local HVAC company and I'm lying. I smile and go, Oops, forgot I just changed jobs. I work at the local digital ad agency. Karen goes off on her merry little way. 3 days later, she comes back and advises me it's a crime to lie to her about where I work at. I laugh. She tells me I'm being unprofessional. I laugh. Boys, I work for a 100% work from home company that no one has ever heard of, and I haven't updated my LinkedIn since I started my job. Not even sure if it would be possible for a regular person to figure out who I work for. I go, fine. Look, you can go complain to my boss if you want, but I'm the GM at the local Ford dealer. It's been 4 days. No, I don't work at the local Ford dealer. No, Karen hasn't come back. I sure hope the GM at the local Ford dealer doesn't share a similar name to mine. My best friend told me to leave the guy that I was dating, but now she's dating him. I do not know what to do and I need to rant. A little backstory. I've dated this guy on and off for multiple years, but this time it was actually getting serious. However, things started to get weird again. He started ignoring me, would walk past me when he saw me, became distant and avoiding, but sometimes he would be very cute towards me, called me late at night just to make sure that I got home safe, mostly when I went out on the weekends, give me unexpected shows of love, etc. It was all very confusing. So one day I was ranting to my best friend about it, and she basically told me to leave him. Mind you, the three of us have been close friends for a very long time. But she started saying that he didn't deserve me, that he was immature, that it was always the same with him, that I needed someone who would appreciate me for me. And I agreed, but I still wanted to give him a chance, so I did. Almost every day she kept asking me about it and reminding me, when she could, that he was mistreating me. Which he was. No one deserves to be ignored for no reason. Finally, things ended between us after I poured my heart out to him and he promised that he would change for me. But the next day, it got even worse and he couldn't even look at me. After that, I really didn't talk to him and tried to avoid him, just as he had done to me. I was too hurt to even face him. A few weeks later, we saw each other at a party and he apologized and told me that he had really bad commitment issues, and that was that. I cut all kinds of contact with him after that. In that same party, however, he spent the whole time with my best friend, outside and alone, doing who knows what. I didn't really go up to them because I wanted to avoid the whole situation and believed that she was just hanging out with a long-term friend. It's now been around 4 months, and my best friend and him have started dating. How did I find out? By another mutual friend of ours when they asked me how I felt about it. Needless to say, I had no idea. Now my friend is poking around, asking why it feels like I'm mad at her. I haven't spoken to her about it, and it's really not in my plans to do so. I have slowly diminished contact between us, especially now that I'm on a holiday vacation. What do I do now? Am I overreacting? You are not overreacting. There's no way that she wasn't interested in him when she was telling you to break up with him. There's no way her opinion of him changed so quickly. Even if somehow she fell for him after you two broke up, you would not want to be friends with someone who would date someone who treated you like your ex. She knows how he treated you, yet thinks that he's a good person to date? You're better off without her in your life, so just live your best life away from someone who wants drama. Your best friend wanted you out of the way so she could get the guy. I'd cut her out of your life personally. Karen insists I share my Nintendo Switch with her brat. This just happened the other day, and after sharing this story with my friends and family, a few of them suggested that I share it here. The scene is a Southwest airline flight. I was sitting in a window seat next to two lovely ladies, and directly horizontal from us was an empty seat, a mom and her son. The flight was taking off. For those who don't know, you are required to stay seated and keep your seatbelts on for the beginning of the flight until the captain says otherwise. I was strapped in my seat and decided to take out my Nintendo Switch from my carry-on beneath my feet. "Excuse me, ma'am." I didn't realize at first that the mother in the seats horizontal from me was trying to get my attention. She unbuckled her belt and moved to the empty seat by my aisle, closer to me. "Ma'am, with the video game." I lifted my head, but the stranger next to me nudged me as well. "That lady wants you to get your attention," the woman next to me muttered. I turned my head to see this woman leaning across the aisle with her hands on the armrest of the aisle seat in my row. "Sorry," she began. "I just wanted to know if there was any way that my son could use that game for a little while." "I'm so sorry," I began. "My Nintendo Switch is just really important to me. I don't feel comfortable giving it to anyone I don't know. I don't even let my sister play with it." I was going to continue, but the woman cut me off. "Oh, my son's not like most kids," she replied. "He's not destructive. His cousin has one of these, and he knows how to play it." She smiled and set her hand out. The two women seated next to me looked at me as if they were also in disbelief. "I'm sorry," I said again. "I just don't feel comfortable with it. I bought it for me." "How old are you?" the woman said with a huff, retracting her hand and slapping it in her lap. I'm 25, but I don't see how that matters, I replied, growing exceptionally uncomfortable. Well, she began, clearly sounding agitated. My son is 8. This is an hour and 45-minute flight, and he just wants something to do. He can't see it for a few minutes. No, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm sorry, but I'm expecting you to understand since this is my property. I put my head down and I unpaused my game as to ignore anything else that she had to say. Are you serious? She seemed genuinely livid. Well, son, sorry buddy, not everyone knows how to share, the woman said to her kid who was next to her. Her kid started whining and kicking the seat in front of him. Thanks for this, she said to me. A sweet kid just wants to share with you, and you're being ignorant about it. Before I even opened my mouth, one of the ladies in my row snapped back at her. How dare you bring that energy on this plane? She told you so kindly that she doesn't feel comfortable with passing her electronics to a stranger. The mother wasn't having it. She's an adult and can't share with a kid for a few minutes of a nearly 2-hour flight? You should have brought something for him to do then, the woman in my row responded. It shut her up good. At the end of the flight, the woman collected her luggage from the overhead bins and said, I hope you're happy going against God's word, not sharing with a kid. Some of the people around us giggled. I'm sure they all overheard the drama at the beginning of the flight. I've come across some entitled people in my life, but this strange lady took the cake. The perfect comeback at baggage would have been to ask the chapter and verse where this was going against God's word. Am I the jerk for not allowing my daughter to quit competitive dance? I, 30 female, have a daughter, Lily, who's 14. We just moved states, husband is in the army, and she'll be going to a new school soon, and she's deciding on her new subjects. She did French last year and did extremely well, was way ahead in her class, but she spent a lot of time after school studying for that one language. She said she had fun doing it, doubtful, and enjoyed it very much. I need to add that Lily does competitive dance, which means that she doesn't have much time left after school. I did competitive dance as a kid, and I know how hard it is to find time for studying. She came to me the other day telling me that her new school doesn't offer French, but they offer Spanish, and she wanted to take it and asked me if I could sign her up to private French lessons so that she can learn both languages. I told her that absolutely not, that with her dance, she won't have time for that, and it's too difficult of a subject, taking up too much of her time. She told me that she hasn't been enjoying dance for a while and was too scared to tell me, but she wants to quit dance. She told me that she wants to study languages and work with that when she's an adult. I told her that she won't be quitting dance because she's too good at it, and I already put in a lot of money and that she doesn't need to know other languages. She'll get by with English just fine. Of course, as teenagers do, she threw a fit and ran to her room. She accused me of living vicariously through her. When did a 14-year-old learn that phrase though? And I grounded her for it. She hasn't talked to me since this morning. My husband came back from work and asked me what happened, and I explained to him that she told me that I should consider letting her quit dance, that languages are a useful skill. Apparently, they always look for people who speak languages, and it'll be better than dance for her future. I told him I didn't want to talk to him anymore and called my sister to vent. Surprisingly, my sister took my husband's and Lily's side, and she joked that I should post here if I don't believe her. So I decided to give it a try. Am I the jerk for not allowing my daughter to quit dance and take language classes instead? You're not listening to your kid's interests. She told you what she likes. You don't believe her, her dad, or your own sister. Hopefully you believe countless people who think you are the jerk, and a huge jerk at that. I couldn't believe that. She put tons of extra hours in and did really well in French, but mom still doesn't believe she could have enjoyed it. Just because OP loves dance and hates learning new languages doesn't mean her daughter will be the same. Knowing more languages is certainly a better career path than pro dancing. So 2 people told you that you're in the wrong here and you're seeking people to agree with you. Stop living your personal dreams through your daughter. What is your end goal for her? Something you couldn't achieve? She already told you she doesn't want to continue dance. Time and money, your unfulfilled dreams, all on your daughter's back. Do you know what normal parents do when their kid decides they don't enjoy sport anymore? They allow them to quit and focus on something they love. Your daughter is going to resent you forever. You're the jerk. Not the jerk. Going against the grain here, but I don't think you're the jerk for this. I used to play golf professionally, even won a few big tournaments. Golf was my life, even how I met my wife. She was working an event I competed in during college. Naturally, I wanted my son to follow in my footsteps. When your dad is a professional golfer, you have a world of opportunity that most kids never would. When he was growing up, I spent a fortune on his lessons, Top-of-the-line equipment, training camps, you name it. My boy ended up getting a full-ride scholarship thanks to his golf talent, and I couldn't have been more proud of him. We threw a huge celebration for him, and there were even some big names in golf that came to the house. A few weeks before he was supposed to leave for college, he broke down one night and told me this wasn't what he really wanted. His dream was to go into the Army, which some recruiters at his school had tricked him into thinking was a good idea. I can't even begin to describe how disappointed in him I was. We had a huge fight about it. I told him if he makes this stupid decision to never speak to me again. He didn't, and he shipped out later that month. He gave up his scholarship and all the opportunity that would have come with it, so I never spoke to him again after that. As far as I was concerned, I had no son. In 2011, he went missing in Afghanistan. My wife is in denial and thinks we'll hear from him someday, but I know he's gone. I can feel it, an emptiness I can't even describe. Why couldn't my boy have just played golf? Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.